Yes, I'm still in bed and I have a dotted sleeping top, which I love, and I have a dotted or dotty, same black dots on white fluffy material, my fluffy gown. And okay, so I think day 31, and I want to talk about shadow work, but more like how you know, or at least that's how I do it, that I'm doing it. How do you know that you're doing a good work there, that you're doing good shadow work, that you, or I suppose even more specifically or more precisely, how you integrated your shadow? How do you know that you actually integrated your shadow? So I personally think and find that as long as there is no, it's about acceptance, put it simply. Um, and So it's about accepting who you are. So it's not about rectifying anything, it's not about changing necessarily. It can be. And the only reason you change is because you don't like something about yourself. You feel worse for it. You you are not happy with the way you are. Not because anyone tells you so, not because the world has a codex of, you know, list of endless list of things that are acceptable and that are not acceptable. No, you don't change things about you because the externals said so. It's because you deep down, or not so deep down, just superficially, meaning it's so intense the feeling, you don't have to go deep to find it, is what I mean. Um, the feeling of yours is that you want to change. Now, this obviously you can want to change because, and that could feel intense, and obviously because the world around you doesn't like the way you are. And then you want to change because you're struggling with that, with lack of acceptance of others. So it's like you just need to be very good at, which I don't believe it's difficult. I think it's pretty safe to say that, to know whether when what to know when you are having a problem with the world having a problem with you, and to know when you're having a problem with you because you are in pain because of who you are or how you are. So maybe it isn't actually so easy to discern this. I'll have to think about this one. But on my feet, as I'm talking about this now, it doesn't come up as an issue for me. So it's like you just know when it's you who has a problem and when the world has a problem. And I suppose just quickly came to mind what my criteria for this was always, is as if I know. So I had a situation with someone who was very dear to me, and I valued their opinion and they were important in my life and all that, and would like have a major problem with something I was. And I would kind of, instinctively to begin with, adjust so that I meet their criteria. But very quickly I would rebel against that. I would feel angry because deep down or not so deep down, I knew that what I wasn't bad. That's just the way I am. There's no, it's not, I know what's bad. Like if I went out my way to hurt someone physically, first and foremost, the rest of kind of hurting is, yeah, debatable, how immoral, let's say, or how wrong it is, but physical, absolutely, in my world at least. So as long as I'm not doing that, and I'm not being violent verbally and abusive in terms of my language, everything else is just the way I am. And I know that it's just, it feels neutral at the worst. It feels neutral, or it feels exciting and wonderful. There were these situations when it felt exciting and wonderful, and the other person had a problem with that. And yes, it wasn't exactly how the world saw it, but and anyway. So my point is, I knew that I was okay with it, and it was good for me, and it was just me being me. So that's, even though a very important person in my life was having a problem with it. So I always fought back. Even, like I say, I would sort of give in, and then I would very quickly fight back and insist and struggle. It was a long time struggle, but like I said, that's how I knew, because I just, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel like I was caught doing something I shouldn't be doing, or shouldn't be being, kind of thing. It was just like, oh, okay. So that's how I knew. And then, so like I say, shadow work, integrating when you wear those sides of you freely and you don't apologize for them. So it's not about. So I think in my last video I was talking about how I strategize with some of my relationships that are fixed in my life and they're gonna be there probably till the end of my days. And I'm strategizing and I'm sort of being in many ways dishonest. I'm not really telling them anything about myself, and if they ask me, I would never lie, but I would just, oh, I mean, maybe I would even lie. I would probably even lie if I kind of didn't have quickly enough another way of answering without answering. But that's the thing, just not giving them the information that would then, start all kinds of conversations and questions. Not necessarily bad, just the ones I'm not interested in having. So my point is that I'm okay with being that way. It's a bit of a pain. It's like it's work. It's work I don't like doing, but I have either that or just have them out of my life, which I can't, or rather, I'm not prepared to do that because I would cut so much other stuff in my life that I don't want to cut and all the rest. So it's a decision, very well thought out. I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and like I say, I'm really good with it. I'm good with it, and that's the point. So yeah, I suppose it's kind of connected to my last video. So on the surface, I'm duplicitous. I'm hiding myself from, so I don't know, let's say 10 people in my life, if that, or maybe more, I don't know. And that's it. And I'm okay with that. I'm so okay with it. So as you can see, on the surface, someone could say, oh, well, you're hiding, you're not being honest. Yeah, I'm very selective with being dishonest. Very thoughtfully, well, carefully, yeah, well thought out um, dishonesty and hiding and all the words that have that kind of connotation of, ooh, they're bad words. No, you being, if you are okay with these words, with these ways of yours, because they're good for you, and as soon as something's good for you, it's not harming anyone. Who is it harming? So, and then you're good with that, you have integrated your parts, your shadow, a shadow of yours, right? And so I'm just thinking, and the shadow piece there is that it's, well, first, shadow is something that it's hidden from you. So that's the key. As long as things of yours are not hidden from you, that's the first step. You have integrated your shadow. So, well, no, you haven't integrated it necessarily, because if you're hiding those parts from you, like you're aware of them, but you kind of rather not look at them, and you're just like, you're not owning them. That's not integration. That means you have become aware of them, and you still need work. You still have work to do to integrate them, to actually make peace with them, and really cozy up in bed with them, just really cuddle up with them and be comfortable, deeply comfortable with those parts of you. So I'm deeply comfortable with hiding parts of myself to those 10 or so people that are just happen to be in my life, and I have nowhere else to put them, and I love them, I care for them, but they're not my people. I'm not interested in sharing myself with them, and I'll happily be dishonest, even lie to them, white lies like, oh yeah, I wasn't at home where I was, for instance. It doesn't happen, especially with Corona. But if someone knocked on my door, I would not answer unless I, want to answer. So if it was them and then they asked me later, like, oh, we popped around, it never happens, by the way, never. But I love the example because in my, like, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that would have been normal in my life. People popping around and knocking on doors and stuff, and me then saying as I grew older, you know, to whoever was at home to say I wasn't in, absolutely happily, always happy to do that. Um, and yeah, so if these 10 or so people knocked on my door and they said, oh, we went around, you were not here, and I'm like, yeah, I was, and I would just maybe, I would try not to say, I would probably say, no, I wasn't in. I would leave it at that. So it's still a lie, but I wouldn't elaborate. I would keep it as simple and as clean as possible. And I would even go as far as to say, if they asked them where you were, I would say, not for public knowledge type of thing, smilingly, and and yes, I would never tell them that I was in, but I wouldn't let them in because that would create conversations I don't want to have. I don't want to explain myself. So that's it for day 31. See you tomorrow. They really need to rethink this design. Can't see a thing. Or maybe I need glasses.